The show is a little bit more serious. As some of you know, some of you may not know, I am a widow. I've been a widow for almost 5 years now. And I wrote a book after my husband passed away called Love Letter to Grief, Learning to Walk by Faith. My If you click on my bio, you will see my IG on there, and on my IG has all of my links to my Amazon page for the book, and it's also where I post the YouTube videos each Sunday for the show, so that's on there as well. But the reason I do this show is because I really want to change the way we think about grief, talk about grief, and help one another through the process. So we have someone that's supposed to be on today, but I'm not sure if he's going to make it. So we're going to get started. And if he comes in, then we'll have him pop in. And if not, then we'll just do like a short show without him. And if anybody wants to hop in the box at some point and say something, you guys are definitely open to do that as well. So I'm going to bring in Emoji J. He's going to do the book trailer, and then we will get started. On May 6, 2017, I lost my husband. That sounds so innocuous, doesn't it? I lost my husband. As if somehow I misplaced him. As if I set him down somewhere and forgot to pick him back up. As if I let him out of my sight and forgot the last place I saw him. The truth is, I didn't lose my husband. He died. People always say to me, I don't know how you do this. They don't know just how close you and I have grown. Faith, you are how I push through. Faith, you are how I am okay. Faith, you are the reason I did not give up. Without you, I would have allowed myself to fall short of God's glory. Without you, I would not have trusted God, and what a scary, lonely place that would be. Faith, you are the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. But you are also the source of power and strength that I never knew I needed so much. My faith in God, His promises, His word, are the answers to how I survived this chapter of my life. Without my faith in God, the story would have ended far worse. The pages of my life would have read quite differently. But with my faith, I will continue to push through, because although the grief journey is tough, I also know I will never walk it alone. This is my love letter to you, about my feelings for you, a letter to not giving up, not giving in, and learning to walk by faith every step of the way. May the lessons I've learned, the stories I've shared, and the letters I've written be an inspiration to that broken heart I experienced the day I lost my husband. May my heartbreak be a source of light to help another broken heart find its way out of the darkness that grief creates. Thank you, Emoji J. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. Like I say, if Kev gets here, then we'll bring him in for his part of the show. But if not, then I'll just start how I typically start. So every show I normally start with one of the inserts out of my own book. So the way I started writing this book was the day my husband passed away. I wrote him a letter, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and a lot of people responded to it, shared it, and I remember getting so many people reaching back out to me, just sending me prayers, their condolences. And later on, other widows who had gone through the exact same type of loss were reaching out to me, just letting me know they understood where I was coming from and how helpful my letter was. And so every time I felt myself getting super overwhelmed with my grief or having a really hard time processing it, I would write something down and I would typically post it on social media. And so when I did that, it was very therapeutic for me. Like I felt like I was, not just letting it out, but I felt like I was dealing with it. And I just had like a very healthy thought process of how I wanted to grieve and how I wanted to deal with it. So this is a particular letter that I wrote a few months after he passed. Dear Grief, I've often wondered lately what words could be used to comfort someone that has a bleeding heart. What can you say to someone whose world has been completely ripped apart? We hear these common things. God makes no mistakes. It's going to be okay. it all happens for a reason. But what if there isn't a reason? What if all of this doesn't make sense? What if you get to the end, hoping that it all comes full circle, and just like that, the circle is as empty as your soul has been and how you felt since that piece of your heart was ripped away? I've come to learn that my faith, that invisible feeling in my soul that I count on to keep my sanity, it won't allow me to sit here in pain and uncertainty too long. God continues to show himself to me, and his angels he sends to take care of my broken heart continue to whisper encouraging words. You will be okay. It will get better. It's not over. God hasn't forgotten about you. Your loved ones will forever be in your spirit. Life will continue, and you will too. Sometimes it sneaks up behind me, and I try my best, and it tries its best to pull me down. I turn around and look you square in the eyes, and I say to grief, no. Today you will not break me down. And one day I pray that when I turn around and look in grief in his eyes and say no, that I actually believe it. For you can't be the death of me. This cannot be my finale. This is to the broken soul and the shaken faith that one faces when losing part of their soul. I pray with and for you because I understand it will be okay. You will be okay. God has not forgotten about you. He has not forsaken you. It will get easier. You will find new ways to cope. You will smile again. I promise you will laugh again. You will feel the approval within your soul that tells you it is okay to live, to love, and to be happy. Wow. Like sometimes I read these letters back and it is like insane. I haven't read that one in a minute. But yeah, that's very, very interesting. I think with me, my biggest challenge with dealing with grief was if I had any like little moments where I found myself like happy or like laughing, I would be filled with grief, like guilt and shame, as if like, like how can you be happy or have a moment of laughter when you're going through something like this? So it was a very hard challenge for me to kind of process that. And I always share with you guys, I've told you guys before. So my birthday is April 29th. My husband passed away exactly 1 week after my birthday. So on my birthday, I was in LA with my 3 of my best friends. We've been friends since kindergarten. We were on vacation. We took a vacation once a year together. And I just remember that was the last time that I was like myself and like 100% happy. Like I was so happy to like be with my friends. Like we were just in LA, we're just laughing and just chilling and just having such a good time. And then it probably took me maybe, I don't know, probably like a year and a half after that before I even felt an ounce of what I felt beforehand. So I know for me, the guilt of trying to be normal after losing somebody can always be kind of conflicting. And I've talked to other widows who lost their husbands that have a hard time dating. They have a hard time being with family. Like for me, when my husband passed away, I was 37. And so all of my friends, we were all married, we were all super, like we're young. And so it was hard for me to be around like my other friends who are married. It was hard for me to, like I had a friend who got married July 4th that I was supposed to be her matron of honor, and I couldn't even be in her wedding just because the ideal of watching somebody exchange wedding vows that close to after me losing somebody was just too overwhelming for me. I still helped. I was her wedding decorator, so I was still able to be a part of it, but I couldn't like be in the wedding. And so, I just think it takes time. I think we have to be fair with each other and honest with ourselves about where we are and what things are hard for us to deal with. So that was probably my biggest challenge, was just accepting that. No, I'll tell you this. This was my biggest thing that I overcame. I was in grief counseling. It was exactly a year after my birthday. So I was a week right before the anniversary. And I had went to New York to see one of my friends. And I remember because you know how I tell make it to the first year, the first birthday, the first Christmas, and you'll be okay. So you keep thinking like, okay, the first of these different things, you'll be fine. So I got to my birthday and I'm thinking, okay, if I can make it to my first birthday, I'll wake up and I'll be okay. Because everybody keeps putting this 1 year mark on, and I had convinced myself that was a magical number. So I woke up the next morning, my first birthday after. I woke up and I was like expecting this magical, I don't know what I thought was going to happen, this magic dust to come over me or something. And I woke up and I was just in tears. I could not stop crying. I was sobbing. I felt so deflated and so disappointed in this idea that I was about to be normal, that I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it's been a whole year. This cannot be where I am 1 year later. And I went to grief counseling the next week, and I was talking to her about my disappointment. And she said something with me that I wish someone had shared with me in week 1. And I told her, I said, I just thought that if I made it through the first year, I would be back to myself. And so I was just disappointed that that didn't happen. And she said, this is the thing you have to grasp. There's no way you can be yourself, the old self that you knew. And she said the best thing I could do was accept that that person was gone. And I had to kind of like reinvent myself and understand who I was after him. And I was like, what? Like, why didn't somebody tell me this like months ago? So that's one of the things that I wish I knew earlier that was very, very beneficial for me. And I always like to hear people tell me the things that were like helpful for them. So if you guys are in the comments, I know a lot of you are here that have dealt with losses and are still processing your grief. If you want to type in the comments and share like one thing that was very beneficial to you, right? You can't go back because life moves forward. That's very true. Yeah. Yeah. That statement in itself, like if you can picture like how in the movies, something happens and the character's just standing still and everything around them is moving, like that is literally grief. It's like, it only changes you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're the only person that's impacted in that way. And you're looking at all these people walking around laughing and the music and everything happening, and you're just standing there. It's like actually watching yourself in a movie. So that makes a lot of sense. Talking about her and sharing memories and stories help. Yeah. And that's I think, and I used to read everything I could put my hands on, because I'm telling you guys, I was so committed to my mental health and wanting to be okay. Everything I found about grief, I read it. Anything somebody suggested, a movie or whatever, I would read it. And I read somewhere that said, talk about the person you lost as much as you can, no matter how hard you cry. And there will be a day where you're able to share your story and not cry. And I was thinking, how in the hell could that be possible? And then I look at myself almost 5 years out, and I am in a place like that. Like, I can talk about him in a space, and like people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they get this weird face and they're nervous. They don't know what to say or how to respond because they don't want to say the wrong things. And then I can like comfort that person, kind of walk them through like, oh, it's fine. Thank you for your condolences. It's cool. I can crack a joke to kind of make them feel more at ease. So I do feel like I'm at a stage where I'm in a very healthy spot, and I know where I am with my grief. I understand the loss. I recognize that I'm still evolving. So I think that's a very healthy thing too. And I don't pretend to be like an expert in grief. Like, I'm an expert for what it took for me. So I recommend and suggest to anybody grief counseling, because that's what I feel like helped me 1000%, or talking to somebody that's, trained professionally to handle counseling and grief for sure. My one thing was keep moving forward. I put myself through college, obtaining multiple bachelor degrees. That was helpful. I bet that was helpful. One thing for me was to keep moving, but with each emotion, to feel it all out. That's true. Yeah, and I hear people say that, and I agree with that gracefully, 100%. The best thing you can do for yourself is to feel it. Because a lot of people will run from those emotions, and it's like, you can run for as long as you want to, but at some point you're going to have to sit with those emotions. You're going to have to sit with the pain of losing that person. Yeah, you're a runner. I think a lot of people are. I think it's so uneasy, it's so uncomfortable. So it's like, just, no, I don't want to deal with this. No, thank you. Yeah, so just walking helps you. That's good. Like that's good. But some people like run away from the issue. But I think whatever, if it's exercising, if it's music, if it's taking a nap, if it's sleeping, if it's, I mean, listen, I'm not saying self-medicate, but listen, the girl was drinking. We had a good bottle of wine. Like whatever it takes for you to kind of process it, I think it's okay. My dad died almost a year ago, and I have yet to grieve his death. Wow. But the thing is, it's like, I think the biggest part of starting the grief is accepting what it is. Like you saying to yourself, I'm going to grieve my dad, is also accepting that your dad is gone. And it's just sometimes mentally you're just not at a place to do that. I think that's very normal. It's hard to acknowledge my loss until I had no choice. I didn't start processing until I got on that. Really? Yeah, man, I could sense that with you. Like you hesitated a lot, but like some of the things that you said, I text Dawn about it. And Dawn can tell you, I text Dawn. At one point I said he is not trying to deal with this. But then you actually said some things. I was like, okay, I think maybe for the first time there's like a little breakthrough and he's actually finna start processing this. So as simple as it seems, writing that letter helped me to begin my journey. Oh. And then counseling shifted my focus from what I've lost to what I've gained. That's an interesting perspective to look. That's an interesting way to look at it. That's how I just went. Yeah. Yeah. No, I noticed that. Yeah. But I think that's just it's human nature. Like it happens and we're resilient beings. So we try to figure out how we can like handle it for sure. Hold on one second. Not our guest from last week returning for encore appearance. Hello. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. I'm late today. I'm sorry, y'all.
You're fine.
I had a meeting with my business partner, but Shantiz, I saw what you wrote, and it literally made me think of me because a lot of times I inappropriately, and I say inappropriately, handle things like that. Because when you're running away, and so I say I walk briskly because my fat knees can't handle on running. But when you're running away from this stuff, you're not processing it, you're not dealing with it, and it's really not healthy. I really, honestly, even if you don't try to get on travel show, of course, I'm trying to help book somebody on travel show. But if you don't start to try to process it, it's only going to sit there.
Yeah.
And I was not dealing with it. My pops passed away on January 27th. So what? Literally a little bit over 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And even during his last few weeks, I was just acting like everything was normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I would text you. I was like, "Hey, I'm checking on you. How's everything? Oh,
You good?
everything's
Yeah, I'm
fine."
good. Everything's good. That's my favorite response. Everything's good. Everything
Yeah.
always good. Everything always good. But it was not, and some stuff kind of started to happen. It's like with me and my PTSD. There were some things that would trigger, and I realized no, everything is not good, and it's okay for everything not to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that. So when you said that, Shantiz, it made me think, yo, we do run away from things, or I do anyway, run away from things that I really need to process. And so even just writing down thoughts can be really helpful. So when I wrote that letter, as as simple, and I do use humor a lot to help me process, and as basic as it seemed, it was
Mm-hmm.
actually really helpful for me. It was
Mm-hmm.
really helpful for me because it had me thinking about things that I didn't even realize that I needed to work through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I wanted to say. It's just too
Yeah.
much to type.
Right. But and the thing is, like I tell people this, like you may feel like you're not ready to deal with it, but grief will make you deal with it. Like you can be doing something that has absolutely nothing to do with you losing somebody, and find like if you just think about, like, I think we're so hard on ourselves that we don't even realize when it's grief that we're actually dealing with. Like something can be happening and you can be feeling some type of way, or you like just can't make your, like you have no motivation, you're like super tired, you're drained, you're like feeling physically sick, you're appetite is completely drastically changed. Your mood swings are horrible. Like you're snapping at people, like people who you know don't deserve it. Like you're doing things. Then if you actually stop and think about it, you always have to ask yourself, am I upset about these situations, or am I upset that I don't have my partner to talk about these situations? You know, like, and I think that's a lot of times that's what it is. Like with my daughter, like I tell y'all all the time, she's 15. Her dad passed when she was 10. And I give her days where she can wake up and tell me she doesn't want to go to school. No questions asked. You know, like she may say, I don't want to go to school today. Okay, that's fine. Go back to bed. We can have a movie day. We can do whatever and just get, you know, because sometimes you just don't need to be around people. You need to be able to process things. I'm trying to make sure. I think I overlooked some comments. My brain is probably craving. Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, and it's, yeah, you're like starting unintentional drama. You're sleeping. Yeah, like I tell somebody, like for me, before my husband passed away, like I'm an event planner, so I was always busy. I was always working, and I thought I couldn't say no to any jobs. I had to do everything. And when he passed away, I realized just how final things are. And it's like you can be doing a million things, but when it like life can stop and everybody else around you will be okay. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to be in control of everything, because grief shows you that you're not in control. So if you find yourself out of sorts, and you don't, even if you don't know exactly what it is, just take a step back. You can be late to work. You can not go to somebody's birthday dinner. You can not take the phone call. Like you have to put your mental health before all these things and put yourself in a good space to figure out your next steps in life. You know what I'm saying? So and grief just has a way of like confusing you, and then it adds all these other elements, the guilt. Like imagine if the relationship was kind of rocky, you feel like there were things you didn't say, like you have this guilt attached to grief. Now that's two components. Or let's say the person called you and you didn't get to answer the phone call. You worry so much about that you don't even process the fact that you lost somebody that you loved so much. And it's a challenge. Yeah, you can take a day from work, exactly. Like your job, trust me, when my husband passed away, somebody else was doing his job the same night. They'll be okay. Like your job will be fine without you. If you need to not be there, that's what you need to do. Yeah, and for me, and even for me, like I remember I never ran from grief. Like I even put it's one of the letters in my book I write about, because when my husband passed away, he died in a car accident. And I got a phone call, and when I went to the scene of the accident, he was still there. Like he was physically still on the ground. He was covered up. His truck was there, flipped over, debris everywhere on the street. Like it was a nightmare. It was super late at night. It was dark. But I remember when I got there and just being like, thinking like, what in the hell? And everything that happened when it was going on. And I promise you, this is like, I physically remember this happening. The last thing I remember was getting back in my truck and looking over my shoulder, like as like a last glimpse, like this shit is not even really happening. And it was almost like grief just took my hand. And it was like I had no way of running from it. Like I couldn't pretend I didn't just see that. And like I literally feel like grief took my hand. And I was like, okay, here we go. You know, it was like I literally started my grief journey immediately. Yeah. Like, so it's almost like you have to ask yourself, at what point are you going to like hold grief's hand and accept that it's going to be a part of your life? And with me, the letters were just and a lot of people wonder, like the book is called Love Letter to Grief. And I named it that because to me, what's more intimate when speaking than a love letter? And I didn't want to look at grief like this horrible, like it is horrible, but like grief is the price that we pay for loving someone. So it's almost like it's also an act of love. And so it's kind of like I wanted to make myself be okay with the life that I was about to have to live. So I was like, I'm gonna just write a love letter to it. Like, look, mofo, like this is me and you grief. We gotta figure it out. So I think I skipped up a lot of comments. Let's see. Yeah. And you know what, Chantizzle? So you say you don't know where to start. I'm telling you, I've even told people, if you want to write a letter, the easiest thing I can tell you to do is write, Dear Grief, I don't know where to start. And just sit there with that. And if you come on the show and that's the only thing you have in on the paper, perfect. Like that's your letter, because you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do with it. And if you even, because it's not even about more so writing a full letter, it's starting the letter. Man's suggestion is, dear Dad, first I'm going to say I realized that I was, oh yeah, man's, that's exactly how his started out. His was, dear Dad, first I'm going to say I realized I was a little mad at you in the way it all played out. That's a very fair thing. And yours may just be as simple as that. Yeah. And Black Diamond was on the show. Hers was real. Yeah, it was very like, it's just very real. It's like, even think about the way you would text. What would you say to grief and how you feel it's robbed you? Like, what would you want to express to grief? Like, what can you say to grief to help you go through it in a better way? Yeah, I think most of us are mad because if you, I mean, grief is accepting that you were just robbed of something, and that's what it is. Like, it's no like people like I in the story, the book the part that I just wrote, like how people say, oh, it all happens for a reason. God makes no mistakes. He gives his biggest battles to his strongest soldiers. Look, fuck that. Like, I'm not trying to hear this right now. Like, that's the reality. So, like, even if you have to, like, your letter is, dear grief, F you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where you are, and it's okay. That's the reality of it, because it's ugly. Like, it's a very ugly spot. And you just have to, you know, as you go through your journey, the letters will become a little bit different. The tone will change at some point, and you can process different emotions. But if your initial emotion is just you're pissed, then let grief know that you're pissed. Like, I hate you. Like, I did not want to meet you. Like, I didn't expect to, like, just whatever you need to say, I think is very therapeutic to get it out. And Chantilly does need a hug. I'll give it to her. Man, keep your hands off of Chantizzle. Okay. A little insert a little humor. But so, you know, like I say, I'm not an expert. I just know what worked for me. I know what I've suggested to other people. I know the return people have told me how things have helped them. Grief will help you unpack these emotions. Facts. Now that's true. Say it one more time for people in the back. Grief will help you unpack these emotions, baby. Yes, that's very true. That's a good one, gracefully. It will. But it's like I say, like, you can run from it, but you will find yourself 10 years down the line at somebody's wedding, and boom, this is the moment the grief says enough is enough. And you just have to protect the people you love to not like make it have to unfold in front of other people who don't understand that it's not you, but you're dealing with a lot of hurt at the same time. Exactly. You just never know. And there's things that's going to trigger you all along the way. Like I say, I'm almost 5 years out, and that's why my birthday is always a big deal to me. It's like my mentally, I think of it like how you charge a cell phone. My birthday trips are always me charging my mental battery. Like, okay, soak up as much happiness and sun and water as possible, and laughs and like happiness, so you can mentally be prepared for the next week. So I think we just have to be honest with ourselves about what we're going through, and be able to find somebody we can talk to help us get through it. Exactly, gracefully. So I mean, there's a lot of things and the thing is, it's all trial and error. Like, if there was a book that says, here you go, Chantizzle, you lost your dad. How long has it been? Okay, perfect. Here's the book for you. Read this and you'll be fine once you get to the end of the book. That's we wish it could be like that, but it's just not. It's much more complicated. Yeah. We're always emotional. But the thing is, this is okay, let me tell y'all something about me. I'm gonna find the silver lining in everything. You can hand me the worst scenario, I'll be like, okay, here's the silver lining. So with me, I look at the silver lining of grief is this. The reason I'm in so much agony, pain, and having so much sorrow is because I was blessed to love someone to a capacity that I did not think was possible. that is why I'm hurting so bad. And that's a blessing. Like, I'm happy that I love somebody to a point where grieving them has been so challenging. So the bigger the love, the bigger the grief. So that's the silver lining for me. I agree. I still get triggered, and one of my loved ones, it's going on 11 years since they passed. Yeah, one of my so the 2 years before my husband passed, my college roommate, one of my really good friends from high school, her son passed away, and this was my first real encounter with grief and watching someone grieve. And so my friend, she had a son, her and she had a brother. They were 10 months apart. And when she got the phone, and she's an ER nurse, so she sees the worst of the worst situations. So she got a phone call that her brother and her son were in a car accident, and that her brother passed away. So she's rushing to the scene of the accident, thinking, it's her brother. She needs to console her son. It's gonna be really challenging, and she's like mentally preparing herself for this. She gets to the scene of the accident, and her brother runs up to her. So she instantly has to process that clearly her son died because her brother is running up to her. And so she's telling me this, and when I say this is like one of my closest friends, like this to me it was one of the hardest situations to watch. And I remember going to her house and laying with her, and I'm telling y'all, I have never heard someone cry from their soul until this situation. And that was like one of those moments where it was life changing. Like, I laid behind her and I was just holding her, and she was just making these sounds that sounded like an animal. And I just laid there. I couldn't do anything. I just remember just sobbing. And she was so strong. Like, at the funeral, she spoke. She was consoling everybody. And for me, it was like the first time I actually saw someone grieving. And I mean, it was tough. Like, she has had the hardest journey. He was her first child. He was like the love of her life. And so I feel like I was able to stand with her and watch her grieve him. And then when it was my turn to grieve my husband, I knew I wasn't crazy because I'd heard the things that she said she was going through. And I remember this lady came to her, like, how people stop by your house and bring you things. She was at home by herself, and this lady brought her, I think it was like a fruit basket or something. And now the people in your neighborhood, they find out it's a small town. They find out somebody passed, they bring you food or whatever. And this older lady comes to her house and she gives her this fruit basket. And she says, holding her hand now, my friend, her son was 16 when he passed. And she said, I just want you to know, I want to just let you know something right now. She said, you will never get over this. And I was so mad at this lady. I'm like, why would like when she told me I want to fight this old lady? I'm like, why would she tell her that? I was so frustrated because I was thinking like that's the most deflating thing you could tell a person that lost somebody. She's like, it's not going to be okay. But fast forward, now she understands it. We understand it. She could have had a better approach. She could have said it another way. But, we get it what she was trying to tell her, like, in a weird senile way. She was just letting her know, like, what she was about to have to deal with. And so I think it's just one of those things. It's like, you won't be the same. You're not going to be okay, but you will find ways to be better. You'll find crafty ways to deal with it. You'll come up with a cute little joke that helps you process it. And when you get triggered, you're able to turn it off quicker. And the more time passes, the easier it gets for you to make these things happen. But it's just always going to be tough. Old people are straight, no chaser. Facts. But them old folks don't care about people's feelings. They just speak the truth. Listen, grandma was like, baby, it's not going to be okay. Like, it's going to be bad. It was like, I don't know, but I get it. It's like, it's like I say, you will be okay, but it's not going to go away. It's not going to be a moment where you're like, you forget. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a lot of times people say, well, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make you sad. Like, you can say something. You're not going to remind me that he's not here. I know he's not here. So, but people are nervous to say the wrong thing, which I get that. But I encourage people to say something. I personally think the worst thing you could do to someone who's lost somebody is act like it didn't happen. Because then it's like, you're really not validating my feelings. How you doing? What? Like, like you have to validate what's happening. You have to speak on it. So, yeah, but she was definitely speaking from experience. I agree. So it can be challenging for sure. You say nothing, but I don't. And everybody's different. Everybody I've ever talked to has always said they want people to say something. Yeah, yeah. That's not the answer because what they like. They're what they. It's just say something. Like I tell people, the best thing to say to a person is, "I don't know what to say," because at least now I know you tried to think of something. I thought I tried, and I don't know what to say. Perfect. We start somewhere. At least you thinking about me. At least you tried to think of something to say. And sometimes not even about saying something. It's about doing something to show somebody that you care. Like I was talking about it with Uncle Kev earlier. If it's someone who lives on your street and it's trash day, take their trash to the end of the road. Take their trash can back to their house. If they have kids and your kids go to the same school, text them like, hey, you want me to pick the kids up for you today, drop the kids off? Like there's so many things you can do to help a person. Take them food. Most people who, when they lose somebody, they don't want to cook, and you don't want to, and don't do all this stuff in week one. Like space it out, because it's not like a 1 week process. It's going to be, a long haul. So anytime you think of your friend or you think about the person they lost, do some small gesture for them. Even if it's just a text message. Hey, I was just thinking about you. I know you, and I'm sure you miss your mom. I'm praying for you. Just something so people know that they're not by themselves. See, I'm here. I'm there for that. Eventually we speak. Yeah. And listen, just go. Don't say anything. Just go and sit with a person. And if they want to talk, they will, but at least you're there. So they know you're there with them physically. I think that means the world to me. Can you guys think of anything that someone did for you that was beneficial, like that really stood out? When my dad died, I didn't want anyone to say sorry for your loss. I didn't want to be constantly reminded he's gone. Yeah. Yeah, I can get that. That's understandable. I don't think there was anything that really triggered me or bothered me other than silence. I was very annoyed by people who didn't acknowledge it. Yeah. Therapist was breathing hard to help me. Oh, wow. To help you to remember to breathe. Interesting. This was the most, okay, so my grief counselor, when I went to talk to her, because listen, if y'all read my book, uh, Diamond knows, she's read it. My book is deep. It's a lot. So I remember when I went to my grief counselor, the first 3 sessions, all she did was cry. And she, after like later on through our thing, she talked to me. She was like, that was the most unprofessional thing. They're trained not to do that. She's like, they're allowed to show empathy. But she was like, if her boss knew that she did that, she would think she was crazy. But it was the biggest gift to me, because if this trained professional cried the first 3 sessions, I'm not crazy. Like the way I'm feeling is validated. So it was helpful for me. I still get triggered by certain family members telling me to move on. Oh, that's the worst word. As if it didn't happen, or as if it's okay for me to feel. I hate the word move on. Like, to do what? Yeah. This was because they are gone. Yeah. I hate to hear people say, you got to move on. You got to move on. It's been long enough now. Get it together now, Tamara. It's time to get it together. It's like, I know you lying. Like, that's the worst. It's so rude. But here's the thing. I always tell myself, a person won't get it until they have to get it. And at that point, I'm heartbroken that you have to get it, because that means you're in the same boat that I'm in. So it sucks. But it's definitely triggering. and I hear it a lot. Like, I have a friend that got remarried, and she was having a really hard time balancing how much of her husband she should kind of keep, like, be outspoken about, and like how much she should try to not mention him. And it was just like, I don't know, it's just a weird space. It's like, dang, like, I don't know. Like, I listen, if I'm having a tough day, I don't really want to consider your feelings. Like, I just want to deal with my grief. But when you decide to move into a relationship, you have to think about that. But it was kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely know, you, and it's one of those things, you don't want anybody to have to deal with this, with grief. You know what it feels like. Like I say, the closer you were to the person you lost, the worse it is. So I wouldn't wish grief on anybody. Would you, or could you, or have you seen yourself moving on? You know, I'm a wedding planner. I am very optimistic. I love the ideal of marriage and everything it is about. I definitely want to be remarried, but my philosophy to dating is so different because I know what it feels like to lose someone. I refuse to be with somebody that I can't justify grieving. Like, if you're not worth the grief that I know I have to go through, if something were to happen to you, I shouldn't be with you. And that keeps me safe from a lot of situations, which I'm happy about. So, but I definitely want to be remarried. I'm definitely open to being in a relationship, but it needs to be um very soul fulfilling for me. It's a lot because I feel like I've disconnected from a lot of family because those three close people that have passed were the glue for the family. Yeah. I can see that. And the thing is, sometimes it's really interesting. So you can have a family member pass, and different people in the family handle it differently. And you think like, well, dang, like, let's say for instance, if I don't know if Chantel has siblings, but your dad passes away and you're handling the loss one way, your sister's handling another way, and your brothers act like it never happened. It's like, it's such a weird dynamic because everybody handles things different. So it's the same person, but you see everybody else moving or pretending to be moving in a different way. It can be very frustrating. It can be very, I don't know what the word is. It's like isolating. It makes you like pull away from people. You just like, how you over here living your best life and daddy just passed away? Like, make it make sense. It can be, and we judge people in grief. We're not supposed to, but we do. People are very judgy when it comes to grieving. I know I was judged. I wish I would have started dating somebody. I'm like, oh, look at her. Like, she talking to, it's a lot. People are so judging. Like, I took a vacation exactly 1 month after he passed away. I took the kids to on a cruise, but it was Father's Day. We got married on Father's Day weekend, so it was like just a weird time for me. So I wanted to be with the kids far away. I took my best friend, my stepson's best friend, my daughter's best friend, and we're on a 7-day cruise. And baby, they was talking about me like, oh, she on vacation, spending money. I'm like, you guys have no idea what I'm dealing with. But I judged until I was judged. Then it was learning how to extend that grace. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Try to make sure I didn't forget anything. But yeah, Chantel, do you want to say anything? Do you want to add anything? If anybody else wants to hop in the box, y'all can definitely hop in the box and say something. Y'all may have something that I haven't said that can be helpful to somebody else, and y'all can definitely feel free to do that. Yeah, people want you to respond the way they would respond. They want you to grieve the way they're grieving. And it's like, listen, if your grieving process is pretending it never happened, we're on different paths. Let me grieve out loud. That's even like with me, like I was so public with social media, and at some point I started noticing certain people wouldn't respond to the post because it was, to them, they didn't understand, like, um hold on, who is this? We gotta be careful with this box. I know we had a lot of trolls last night.
Oh no, it's Jen.
Like, How are you,
I'd be
love?
the same way. I don't let randos in my box very often, so I'd be like, "Who are you?" Because it's hard to get people out. My best friend, 31 years, she's the type of girl that doesn't fall in love really. She had been my whole life. We had been together friends since 9 years old. She had never really been in love with a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has no kids, and she had gotten pregnant for the first time and lost the baby. And the man that she had lost the baby with was considerably older than her, about our father's age, but she was
Mm-hmm.
in love with him. Okay. His daughter, as a matter of fact, was our age. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe a couple years younger. But she had
Mm-hmm.
fallen in love with him, and they had been together for about 7, 8 years. And they had just gotten to the point where they had decided they were going to get married, and he had proposed to her.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just bought a new motorcycle, got up for work that morning,
Mm-hmm.
and the motorcycle, he said to her, the motorcycle feels a little off. She's like, oh, well, maybe you should call Harley Davidson and have him look at it. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll do that later today. That day on the way home, doing 30 miles an hour, 35, there was a kid that watched him drive by. Something went wrong on the motorcycle. He left the road and got into a motorcycle accident, hit a tree. From the time it took from her to get from Mass General in Boston, the bottom floor of Mass General, to the fifth floor where they had him, said he was stabilized and everything, he had died. So it was an elevator ride from being stabilized at the bottom floor to the fifth floor, everything from the house, everything. And let me tell you, every person in that girl's life wanted to tell her how she should feel, wanted to tell her how long she should grieve, how she should handle things, what she should do with the house that they had purchased, what she should do with this, what she should do with that. And I looked at her, and the only person that she could sit with was me. Because on the backside, I was just like, girl, you gotta, because she wanted to go away, like you. And I think that that's the number one thing. You gotta kind of, there's triggers, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
triggers everywhere in your life. And sometimes you need those triggers to go away. You know what I mean? You need them to not be right prominent in your face,
Yeah.
because now you're just trying to get through the process, to have a day of smiling, because you don't even know what a smile is, because in your
Mm-hmm.
soul and your core, your smile died. It
Right.
died. It's gone. You know what I mean? But you need to still smile, because there's other people, other things, other situations in your life that require that smile. And
Mm-hmm.
you know deep down in your heart, that person that you love so dearly that's no longer with you
Right.
doesn't want you to feel that way, but you don't know how not to, because it's just so dark. And I watched her go through that process. And I separated from my ex 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and she had just started to date, and the guy she was with was no good. I didn't like him. So she had broken up with him finally after 3 years. And she was trying to set me up with this guy. And I was sitting there talking, and this guy, Travel, when I tell you, he was my best friend as a man. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
things this man was saying was her. And she was like at this point where she could date, but she didn't feel like she'd ever be like that with anybody ever again. She was cool with her dogs. She was like, I got my dogs, like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I look at her, I said, go out to dinner with him. He ain't for me. Will you go out to dinner with him? Here we are 3 years later, and she had
Mm-hmm.
finally found the love of her life. And do you know the
Aw.
one thing that man did was embraced the
Mm-hmm.
spirit and the memory of the
Right.
man that touched her. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm sorry, because I went through that whole experience with her. So the reason why I say people want you to respond the way they would respond, because they think in their head, I've
They
never been through
this
that
is what they would do.
experience.
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
no fucking idea. I'm
Big
sorry.
fact. Yeah.
What the hell you would do, babe? Like, you don't. Nobody can tell you. You have kids. You're watching their kids. You're watching like all these different things. So for me, it makes sense what you did.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I see it. But at the end of the day, you gotta kind of tune all that shit out. And remember, with grieving, sometimes it's best to not be around other people. You
Yeah.
find the one that understands and relates to you, and you kind of stay with that people that make you feel comfortable and safe, so that you can get through that process on your own.
Yeah.
So I
Very
had to
true.
hop in.
I
TM
think
told me I was gonna love your
I
shoe. He's the one who told me I had to come and check this show. He's like, you've got to go tune into Travel Bay, Jen. And I was like, I do, because I help people through this. I've never really had to experience a ton of close loss to me. I have a little bit, but not to the level of some of my friends that I've seen walk and go through, like parents and siblings and, significant others and children. And those losses that are that close to home, there's no, I remember my kid's godfather's sister lost an
Mm-hmm.
infant, a newborn infant, and they were attacking this girl for every movement she made, judging on how she was grieving that child.
Yeah. And people
How the
do
hell
it.
can you wrap your head around grieving a
Yeah.
child?
Right.
I love you. I don't want to consume your
You
box
got
or your show,
it.
but I had to
Thank
share
you,
that
love.
and tell you I loved what the
Oh,
way that
thank
you were handling it, and you were beautiful, gorgeous.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys make sure you hit it with the favorite. You lost both of your grandparents, two uncles, a boyfriend, and a close friend within 4 years. Jesus Christ. Whew, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. And 4 years is not a lot of time. I feel like by the time you barely get your feet under you to try to process the first one, it's like the next one. It's a lot. My best friend lost her husband January 19th this year. Wow, that's so much. We are going through it now. Yeah, it's and I'm like it's a joke with that between me and my friends. Like I'm the widow whisperer. Anybody who knows somebody that loses a spouse, they're like, I'm gonna give you my friend's number. Give her a call. Like I talk to so many women that are fresh into losing their spouse because the people know that I've dealt with it and they know I've tried to deal with it in a very healthy way, which I've always tried to as healthy as possible. Yeah.
I can't believe I even doing this because this is
I can
hard.
too.
Hard travel, but this is hard. No, but can I just say I've seen your show, but I've never came in this show because of the title. Like that title is it's a trigger for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
that I actually have to and it's crazy. I know how weird it sounds. This man is it's about to be a year next month, but I don't know. I'm not ready to let that go. So for me, grieving is something I know I have to do, but I don't know how to do it because
Mm-hmm.
I've suppressed it so much that
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I don't know. So it helped me today to yeah. It, thank you gracefully. Thank you. So I just had to say
I,
that.
I think like even you saying that can be the start to how you begin to do it.
Yeah, I see. So
Like I say, I think the hardest thing is accepting and embracing grief. Like I say, to me, it was more intimate, like holding grief's hand and be like, okay, this is what I've been dealt. Like, how do I figure it out? And then every trial and error until and I'm continuing to do that now. So, have you talked to? Are you your only child?
no,
Okay.
I'm the baby. So no, but I've talked to my siblings about it. And I think the reason why I'm because before he passed, my sister lives in New Jersey and my brother, he lives like 7 hours away. So um, he before he died, like my sister flew into the hospital. Like they called a family meeting, and they wanted me to go up there, but I um I couldn't bring myself to see my dad in that state,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want my last memory of my dad me looking down at him in
Mm-hmm.
that condition. So I didn't go. And 2 days later he died. So I feel like it's guilt. Like maybe if I was there, like it probably would have helped, but I just couldn't bring myself to go see him laying down. Like that's not the man I knew, and I never wanted that to be my last memory of him. So
Mm-hmm.
and even when he died, like I was at work. I was at work and they called me. My sister called. I was in the middle of a presentation. I was giving a presentation like 500 people. And I put it on hold for 2 seconds and my sister called me. She's like, he's gone. And I literally just like 5 seconds, I processed it and I went right back into work. And after
Wow.
the presentation, my boss called me. She's like, you did such a great job. They want you to do it again. And I was like, do you know my dad died? I said, just like that. Like, and she's like, what? I was like, yeah, they called me during the presentation. And she's like, why are you here? I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. And from that day, I realized like I went to his funeral, but I went back to work. I did not want to deal with it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to face it. Like, it was just I don't know. So here I am a year later and still haven't accepted the fact. I know he's not here, but I haven't accepted that So anytime somebody talks about loss or things like that, I run from that because that's a trigger for me. So I run from that. I don't even want to hear it. Like, but I know that it's not healthy. It's it's not, but one day at a time, one day at a time.
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like even, and you give me just, I think even just processing what you said, like, I can literally feel what you're saying. Like, I feel like there was, like, I've heard people say that, like that's like the first part of it. Like, like that's the beginning parts of it. So I think you're already there, even though you don't realize you're there. So, and it's not, and it's the thing is, I also feel like I was talking to, I remember this lady I was talking to, and she was saying that for a while she kind of dodged grief because in her mind she felt like when she grieved that it would be a final chapter, and that was her assumption that grief was like a set amount of time. And she said she didn't want to accept the process because when she knew when it was over, that would be it. And when she realized that grief was a continued process, she was like, oh, okay, well, I actually can help it because it's not going to be final. Like, this doesn't mean that's the end of it. Like, those memories and you processing it and you allowing yourself to be triggered is just remembering the fact that you love somebody to that level. Yeah. And so starting the process, there's not an ending to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the starting it is just embracing it. Like, saying you're going to give yourself the space to grow and deal with it. Not that you're going to give yourself the space to get over it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, because that's not even, you can't prepare for that. It's not going to happen. But I think you just did you did that. So that's a huge start.
Yeah, because just listening, it really I don't know, it just listening kind of helped. Like, okay, you have to face it. You don't want to go another year. You still haven't, like, it's really not healthy for you. Like, it's suppressing your emotions is not healthy. And like Grace Lee said, like, some of the things that you do, I can recognize that and I can hold myself accountable. Like, some of the things that, like, unintentional drama, outlashing on people, sleeping all day, like, those are things that I'm doing. And it's like, is it connected to the fact that I'm not facing something that I need to face, and how long am I going to continue to do that? So this is a start. This is a start. So one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing for me, the reason I encourage people to write is also, like, if you write something, like, let's say, like, this is recorded, so you will be able to watch this and have this video, and a year from today, I guarantee you there's going to be growth. And that's what those letters represent to me. Because, like, when I read that letter today, I was, like, caught off guard. Like, sometimes I read this stuff and I'm like, wow, like, I can't even believe I was in this mental state. But I know there's been growth because I can, like, I didn't even remember writing that.
Right.
So that I love writing for that, just for that. Like, it's a track for me to be able to, even if I feel like I moved a half an inch, I have this letter that proves to me that I moved this half inch. So, but you have this video, and this time next year, you're gonna be helping somebody else. Like, listen, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So, I'm proud of you for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna get out your box.
She's like, I'm leaving. Yeah, I have a question. Okay, you have a question for me, or you had a question for Chantizel? Shows you where you. Yeah, for sure. That's why I feel like and like when you write the letter, make sure you put the date on it.
So no, this is a question for you, because I also know that you have kids. And this is from my friend. So after she lost her husband in January, she has 2 daughters. And one of the daughters said to her, that the wrong parent died.
Oh, yeah.
And like, because you had to also, like, as a mom, you had to grieve, but you also had to be there for your children who are grieving as well. And then she also has another child who's autistic and who really didn't process it. But her birthday is actually this Saturday, and it's now all hitting her now. Because, like, they're Puerto Rican, so she's going to be celebrating her sweet 15, her quinceañera. And, like, a part of that experience is you do the father-daughter dance, and he's not going to be there. So it's all, like, and it's like, I get, like, I can't, the only reason why I say I'm just there is because I have no words. I can't, like, I don't know how to speak to the pain that she's experiencing. But how have you, like, my question is, I guess, how were you able to grieve, but also be there for your children?
So for me, and I will tell you this, like what her child said is very common. So when I was doing my grief counseling, I was blessed to be put in a group, and I don't know how it happened, but it was 4 women, and we all had 10-year-olds, which was so crazy to me. We were all around the same age. We all had 10-year-olds, and some of them had other kids. And I can tell you, I've heard widows say that numerous times, a child saying that to them. So first, let her know this is not a unique situation. Like, it's as hurtful as it sounds, the child is just hurting. Because the thing about when somebody passes away, you don't get to watch them evolve. You get to remember the best parts of them, and that's what you hold. So you're like, if another parent is disciplining you, or you you're upset with them, you do that with the so it's almost like it's easy for you to say, I wish my dad was here because he would have handled this different. Because you already observed him in this like perfect state. But it's very common. So as hurtful as it is, it's very common. But it is also, like, I try to tell myself, if I'm feeling this out of sorts about losing my husband, I have to understand and appreciate that she has to be feeling out of sorts because she lost her dad, and my stepson because he lost his dad. And so the thing for me was, I never shied away from letting her see me in pain. Now, I wasn't just crying every day in front of her. Now, I was crying every day, but I didn't let her see it. But I did want her to see it sometimes, because I wanted her to understand that it was okay to be hurt. And I would talk to her about like how frustrated I was and when I was feeling out of sorts, so she could process it and knew, and when she was having those rough days, that it was her grief. And so also grief counseling, like we started grief counseling super early. And in grief counseling, they take each, like if you have let's say she has 4 kids, each one of her kids will have a different counselor. Okay. And she was a different person. And at the end
because we're talking about that now, like the whole, like, because she tried to do it on her own up to this point, but now she's realizing that, like, that maybe they all might require something or more assistance in that state.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, unless even if you went to school for counseling, you're not equipped to handle your own grief. You need to talk to someone else to help you sort through things. So, in a lot of people don't realize, a lot of hospitals offer grief counseling for free. If you contact them, they have bereavement programs, they have hospice programs, and a lot of these places offer no charge at all. And so that would be my suggestion, for them to start grief counseling as soon as possible. And then the thing with kids, like you're talking about how her daughter's turning 15, when Taylor did counseling, they told me, they said she's going to need to come back here probably 3 or 4 more times at different stages. And they said because there's going to be times in her life where things are making a huge change, that she's going to need to reprocess this loss. And she said sometimes it's high school, sometimes it's graduation, it could be college, but it's different milestones that a kid is going to hit where they're going to be back at level 0. So it makes sense that the 15-year-old is being hit with it now, because this is a huge milestone for her. And from an event planner standpoint for this kid, for the birthday party they're about to have, I had I seen a video where this lady had the fathers, you know how they have to have those all the kids dance with them. This mom had all of the fathers from those girls that were with them dance with her daughter. It was like this big dance. So that may be something that you could suggest to your friend if she was open to it. So that's what they did. Amy said, was I the one who told her? Yes, I was. Yeah. So crazy enough, my daughter ended up being at her godmom's house the night he passed. That's just God. God, listen, God's good. One thing about listen, God took care of me. I just am so blessed because there was just a lot of things that He put in place when it happened. And if of all night, she had spent the night with her godmom, and when because it happened overnight, so I didn't get home until probably 8 that morning, and so I had time to process. I had time for family to get there. My mom was there, my aunts was there, my sisters were there, my brothers were there, so I had time to mentally prepare to tell her. Thank God. And I was like in a more calm space, so she didn't have to be there, when everything initially happened. So my best friend brought her home, and I had to tell her. Which this was, like I said, this was my second time I had to talk to my daughter about something super hard because my grandfather passed 2 years prior. And listen, my granddaddy was like, there was like everything to my family. And so my granddaddy kind of more so raised me like he was like my dad. And I never forget, my daughter was 8 years old, my granddad passed away. And when I told her, this little 8-year-old child looked at me and started crying, and she said, but I wanted him to meet my kids. And I was like, what? Like, I could not understand her mind. Like that was what she said about her granddad. So then when I told her about her dad, the first thing she said was, we're going to be okay. I'm like, she's 10. Like, what is she saying? But she did. She was like, we're going to be okay. And then she just started crying. And then she just kept looking at me. She's like, we're going to be okay. Like, it was just like she needed the reassurance. This at 8 was my granddad and her dad at 10. And so, and they'll tell you in grief counseling, the main thing for kids, they're so resilient, they just need to be able to look at you and get some reassurance. So yeah, the first thing she said. And the whole time, she does this to this day now. She just like a little side-eye thing, like, and I can hear it in her mind, like, you good? And so initially it was tough for her. Like if I wasn't home, if I was somewhere driving, she would be super anxious. And so I got her a cell phone right away. So she has my location. And bless her little heart, she would watch my location. Like if I wasn't home with her, she would be watching my location. And if my car stopped, she would call me. I was just calling. What you doing? Like just like this reassurance, like, or if I knew I was gonna be somewhere, I took a little longer, I would text her, hey, I'm okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But the main thing for kids is they just need to reassure the person that they have left is whatever parent it is, they need you to make them feel safe. So yeah, these kids, baby. Yeah, that's what she told me. She was like, we're gonna be okay. And she was crying and she just kept saying, but we're gonna be okay. I was like, Lord have mercy. I was like, we better be. But kids are resilient. Like, they are way smarter than we want to give them credit for. And they get, like, a lot of times we try to shy away from talking to them about serious situations, but they'll be okay. Like, kids can handle it. We can protect them and shield them, but certain realities, we need to be honest with them about it and give it to them how it is. So, but does anybody else have any other questions? Anybody else wants to get in the box and say anything else before we end? Hopefully our guest will come back on another day, because I really want to hear Kev's story. So his wife's anniversary of her passing was yesterday. It was 3 years. And he just was saying he had a super emotional day. So he's probably somewhere like knocked out, emotionally drained. But Chantizzle, I will wait for you to text me and say, Travel, I'm ready. And I would love to have you on the show. Black Diamond, if you want to come back on at any point and let us know where you are now compared to the last time you read your letter, I would love for you to do that. And anybody else that wants to be on the show, message me on IG. Also on my IG, you can get my YouTube page. That's where my book trailer and all of the videos are posted every Sunday. And my Amazon link to the book is on there as well. You're welcome. Whew, we did it, Joe. We did it. So, but Chantel, I'm so proud of you. Everybody put some clapping emojis in the hand in the comments for Chantizzle. You did it, Chantizzle. Yeah. Good job, Chantizzle. You just have to insert a little, I have like a little weird humor sometimes when it comes to grief, but it's just my way of like processing it. But you did good. You're welcome, love. But yeah, anybody that wants to come on the show, just let me know and we'll schedule a Sunday. So we have I think next Sunday is I have a couple of people I really want to try to get on the show. Top Bash JoJo has an amazing story. I want her to share it. Raider Rob's story. Hopefully he'll be able to come on and share it. It's so many people. So oh wow, pretty. What? It took you 3 years to cry? Oh, I'm such a crybaby, y'all. Listen. One thing about it, honey, I was crying. If I wasn't doing nothing else. Y'all not cry like this. Listen, the tears were plentiful. I thought at one point I was gonna run out of tears. I'm a crybaby, but everybody handles things different. But I like it. My advice to anyone who is struggling with dealing with grief, go ahead and take its hand. It is not going anywhere. His ass is here to stay. When you lose that person, grief got a suitcase. They move it in. Grief is moving the fuck in. Grief is here. You can be mad. You can call him ugly. Whatever you want to do, he here. So she, however you want to identify her. My grief was a man. So he was tall and ugly. So it was a he. But just take his hand. It's there. Yeah. Just wait for you to open the door. Like, like what we doing? It's gonna happen. So who is this in me verse? I'm gonna get off of here. Oh, Dawn. That's the girl that you Emoji J. Thank you for recording the show. You guys, thank you for being here. That concludes the show, Love Letter to Grief. Again, make sure that you guys check out the book, Love Letter to Grief, Learning to Walk by Faith. You can purchase it on Amazon, or you can message me on IG and get your copy directly from me, signed, baby. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Thank you. Dawn, the girl that you versed, the one that she sent me a verse, but I'm finna go. I broke down out of the blue when I was around people. I had to run to the bathroom. Oh, gracefully, message me. Gracefully, ma'am, you never sent me your picture for the auction. So I assume you didn't want to be in the auction. I kept asking people, does anybody have gracefully? Oh, you backed out and you didn't tell me. Okay. I was like, does anybody have a way to contact gracefully? Not the whack verse her. Are y'all gonna be nice to that girl? But yeah, okay. So gracefully, message me. Oh, you gonna meet me? Let me send you a hi. Message me back. I'm gonna send you a copy of my book for your friend. Yes, I'm gonna send her. Okay, yeah, message me and I'm gonna send her a copy of the book. Bless her heart. Like she'll be okay. I promise you. But just let her know she is not alone. Her child saying that Craigslist coming out, like she's not the first mother that's heard that. At the end of the day, they don't really mean she's the wrong parent. What they really mean is they want both of their parents. So it just sucks. Yeah. Team time to rest. It's beautifully. This was interesting. I'm surprised she sent me a verse. I actually was going to send her a verse one day. I thought about inviting her to be in the rose auction, but I never went to her stream but like one time after that. Big facts.
Hey, gorgeous.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I came over here because I had a question to ask you.
Okay.
And I've been going. I call it the hot seat. Okay.
Oh.
Everybody love you guys. Love you guys. Who y'all are? Y'all big on the app, and y'all have so much stuff to give to other people. So my thing is I call it the hot seat. Okay. I ask you multiple different questions. Okay. This is for the people that's in your audience to get to know you a little better. All we know is what's on the screen. Okay. And I ask no comp. This this morning his mind was shot. He couldn't know nothing. He didn't know how to answer some of the questions. So,
I'm surprised. Shade. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
okay. So, my first question is to you: if you had one celebrity to basically spend one day with, either on the whether they're alive or are dead, who would it be?
It
If
would.
you had one person.
Um. Dang, my eyes been blank. Lauren. Was it London? Lauren London. Her. Yes.
Laura London.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one, Travel. So why would you pick her out of all the celebrities? Why would you pick her?
Because she's a widow and I'm a widow, so I would love to sit and talk with her and just share with her.
Okay.
She is. I mean, they were not married, but she still lost somebody she was in love with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. She lost her heart. I mean, her child's father. A lot, Also, if you had one place to uproot from, like to leave your state and go, where would you go?
A tropical island somewhere in the Caribbean.
Oh, Caribbean. Okay. Okay. So, who's your favorite MC?
Nobody. I don't. Y'all, who my favorite MC? um, I don't know.
y'all see that old boy.
Like an MC, that's considered like a rapper, right?
Right. Plies. Look.
I guess I would say, listen, Plies, because he ratchet. Yeah, Plies. This is what I'm going with. Period.
Okay, she said no, not Plies. Missy Elliott, come on, y'all.
I'm going with Plies. Stick beside me. I love him. Period. Yes.
Okay. So, if you had, tell me this: would you change your childhood life? Would you change like your childhood neighborhood that you grew up with, or would you still keep it because it made you who you are?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't change it.
You would keep it. Okay. Okay. In elementary, let's go to elementary. Okay. Remember who you were in elementary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was you teased at any point in your elementary school life? Any of that at all?
Elementary.
No.
I mean, I had like maybe a mean girl or two, but no, I wasn't really. Not really.
Was you popular?
I was kind of one of the
cool.
Yeah.
She was kind of one of the cool kids. Y'all heard it here?
She was kind of like a cool kid, but I kept everybody like connected. So I was like the nice cool kid.
Sports. Are you into sports at all?
Yes, I'm a football fanatic.
Okay, who's your favorite?
The New Orleans Saints are my team. I also root for the Seattle Seahawks, and my college team is the Ole Miss. Woo, woo. Y'all better know these answers. Period. TSA. You better know the answers, girlfriend.
Let's go. Okay. Now, so my thing is, what if you had a business, right? What business would you like say that you feel like that would be a fit for yourself?
Well, I already have it, so it would be the one I already have. I'm an event planner. I own my own event planning and design company, so that's what I would still be doing.
Oh snap! Okay, so I didn't know that about you. First of all, well, that's something big, yo. That's something big. Event. I'm doing like a top badge slide on my thing, where some of these things I'm gonna insert all these things that you like people need to know about you. if it's okay, of course. And it shows basically who you are as a person. And if you had to leave this world right now, Travel Bay, God
Mm-hmm.
forbid, what mark would you want to leave behind for people that's on the stream, people to know you and remember you as?
I think that I was very passionate about love and grief. Like, cause I feel like that's the beginning and the end of what we are about. So I think I would want to just leave the impression with people to love wholeheartedly, give wholeheartedly, um, and be, like good people at the core. So when you do leave, you leave people feeling like they were blessed to have met you.
Right, that's true. That's true. I I feel like that's the same thing I want to leave behind. It's hard because when you go, you don't know how people gonna remember you. You just want to know exactly what you want to leave behind. You know that part, but you don't know how they gonna remember you,
I
and
think
that's
I
something
want
is
to like people. I think I have a
something dope.
good like. I literally live my life, so I do know what people would say about me in my passing. So
Right, right, right. That's true. Uh, who you got? Okay, who you got on Biggie and Tupac? If you had to pick between them two,
Tupac.
who would you pick?
Tupac. First of all, no, I'm just playing. Do y'all redo my rap song? Put a one to comment. I just playing. They'll be like, no, please don't travel. No, no, no. First of all, Clay. Okay, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad. I'm
Oh my god. so you a big fan of Pac? Pac would be
I like
your
yeah.
Pac is okay. So do you honestly think at all if the music industry did not put them together and try to rate them as side by side, do you think they both would still be alive?
No, I don't.
Why not? Why do you not? Why y'all don't think that they'll be
I mean,
alive?
I am a true. I mean, it's probably just my way of processing grief. I am a true believer that when it's your time, it's your time, and it may not have been that
Right.
particular path of how they would have been gone, but they wouldn't have been here. I think they left their mark as big as they
Okay.
did and were that large because they weren't gonna be here for a long
Okay. Okay. That is fair. That is fair. That is 100%. I feel the same way.
time. Biggie wasn't.
I feel like they was too big for their own self. They was young, and for people just to, like for Pac, he made one hit record. I mean, he made one diss record that changed in a whole world and divided it by side. So that that's bigger than as somebody that's too big for their own self, and I feel like that. But yeah, I honestly that is all I have for you, Travel Babe, for now. But I'm glad to get to know you a little better and learn that. Would you uproot to leave your city and be comfortable somewhere else instead of out of your comfort zone? Like,
I
would you
would
move out of
only
your
if my
comfort zone at all?
I would, but only after my daughter was like in college and settled. I would only after that. Until
Okay.
before then, I would have to be completely grounded for her.
Okay. That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. You guys, listen, you guys, y'all have a blessed day. I wish y'all nothing but the best. TSA family.
Make sure to check
Thank you, Travel Babe, for the
You're welcome.
thank you for
Your
the
project is
verse and
so
everything. And
exciting.
I'm glad to see you guys. Yes, yes, yes. This is dope. So I'm going on to the next people
Okay.
and
All right. Good luck.
later.
Thank you. I can't take y'all asses nowhere. Why y'all be trying to embarrass me? Not the mic dropping, then done sent the robo block. That's why I listen. We just had an amazing show. We've been up all night. Just do this.
You need to recruit non-ghetto TSA members. Use motherfuckers. We can't take you to the end of the fucking street, but yous are acting up, hoes. What in the fucking devil has got into yous?
Jody, I'm about to lose my badge again.
I wish you would.
I wish you would, motherfucker.
If you lose your badge again, Buford, it's over. You're not getting it back.
Look, ain't none of y'all got the balls to kick Jody.
Hey, beautifully, did you get your taxes back?
Did I get my taxes back?
Yeah.
Jody is that you talking about, but you were here wilding out, Jody.
Whoa,
Jody.
What, baby girl?
Give me $25,000 to give them.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what a return looks like.
Okay, I don't speak that language.
Exactly.
Now you break it up.
Travel. We are not, and Jody, we are not ghetto.
Yeah.
It was the girl fuck you once the verse was over for me.
Well, who said that?
This is why on Fridays we don't do field trips. This is why.
Exactly.
Now we can't do field trips on Sunday, even after love letters to grief.
Right. The bus has got bus tires on the Friday. Beautiful. You missed it this morning.
Drop a name we don't rock with.
We are
I'm like, girl.
I know you saw the eye rolls in the comments. Like, I know you fucking lying.
Travel.
Yes.
Tell them about our church session. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Oh my God, y'all. Let me see. I wish I had recorded the way Jody sat in this box earlier screaming that music while Traveling Man was in his truck playing. It was ridiculous.
Church was so good, Miss Texas, right? I had such an amazing time. I think I should be lead singer in the choir.
Oh. So you think we should have a choir?
Yeah.
She was definitely getting to it. Next Sunday, same time.
Right.
Y'all not be barely getting up in time for
I need you to stop picking up strays.
Excuse me, beautifully, but mind your goddamn business. You said the hell of a good time.
Jody, it's Sunday.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
See that right there? Those outbursts. So let me tell you. I told you about what happened when I went to court.
That he said he don't know what he gonna do or something.
That they don't know if I'm divorced or not.
Right. He's going to determine or something.
He's the judge, but you can't tell me if I'm divorced.
Well, he's on the fence.
Exactly.
It's been 2.5 years, ma'am. Divorce me, the fuck.
But listen, that's God telling you to get back together.
You know what? I made a joke and said that if I'm not divorced this time, then obviously I'm still supposed to be with my baby daddy.
Right.
I didn't mean it though.
You gotta let God sort things out, and you don't have to understand why it's happening. That's all I'm saying.
I just blocked my baby daddy yesterday. That can't be it.
You see what?
I just blocked him yesterday. It can't be that.
It may not be that you listen.
But I think it's probably because you're toxic and you need to work on yourself to make your marriage work with your baby daddy.
I'm not making that work. He slept with my sister. What the hell you mean make that work?
Oh, chop that bastard's dick off.
Jody!
I fucking would. Trevor, I'm telling you, if my husband slept with my sister, he'd be a dickless motherfucker. Let me tell you that.
It's Sunday. We just had a great show.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I forgot.
I hope Emoji Day is able to end all this and cut that back part off. Lord have mercy. I mean, he was definitely wrong. I forgot about that part of it for sure.
That is fucking bad. I tell you.
It's really bad.
Mm-hmm. I know, Miss Texas. Sorry, I forgot. I keep forgetting. I think
Miss Texas, don't act like they don't be rolling over liquor breath, rolling into church in they Saturday night best.
I think people go to church drunk from the night before, drunk and high.
Yeah, I've definitely done it.
I've never done that. I sang in the church choir. I was a good girl. I never went to church hungover.
I used to go to
church hungover. I didn't say hungover. I said still drunk.
Same difference if you're still drunk. There wasn't my vibes. I was in there ministry. Music was my ministry back in the day. I was in there getting my praise and worship on. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord, baby.
Travel, where you be finding these low-cut shirts? I need them.
Got that cheap shirt from one of them little stores like when is it? Amen. Like what is it called?
Target.
Like Rainbow.
Walmart.
Yeah, just a regular T-shirt.
Yeah, but Travis shops in Walmart as well, yo.
Why? You said what, Jody?
You shop at Walmart as well, don't you?
I will. Yeah, I love Nines.
I told you there's no fucking like.
I will listen. I shop the hell out of Walmart. Let me need to
I
go
hate when
run
people
the
be
side.
like, I'm going to Target. I can't